What if I told you there's only one thing separating you from right now to the dream you, to everything you ever wanted, imagined, and just dreamt of? Well, it is there and it is possible. In today's discussion, I want to talk about that, and that is risk. And risk in life is no different than a game of chess. But the thing is, and the biggest problem we have, is if you don't move that chess piece, nothing changes. You know what they say, nothing changes unless something changes. Unless you do something that you've never done, you will not get a different result that you never have. So when you come back to today in this discussion and this listening here today, there's no reason, mistake, or accident that some of the most successful people, Steve Jobs or Leonardo da Vinci, you name it, they all kind of believed in something called the dot theory, especially Steve Jobs. Basically meaning like everything is kind of connected. So it's all probability with a lot of these people. So today I want to break that down of how you can kind of just shift any of these preconceived notions about your life or things that you can't change, put it up in a ball of trash, throw it out, boom, let's rebuild that life. Any choice you make that is uncertain is considered a risk. So let's think about it. All your dreams, ambition, and just all the stuff that you want in this lifetime, the only separation is you're not taking action on something that you think is a risk. Something is blocking that self-belief that is literally holding you back, and that's you inevitably. But think about it. When you go to bed at night, you think you have tomorrow, that's a risk. When you go for that loving relationship, a friend, yada yada, that's a risk. When you drive your car somewhere to work or just an entertainment thing to have fun and escape this world that you don't like maybe, that is a risk. Someone could be texting and driving and hit you and then boom, lights out. I don't know the answer of what's after this, so why take any of the chances? I think the biggest risk out of them all is not going for the things we want out of this lifetime, because none of us are making it out alive. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And then also, when you go for the things that you want in life, either option A, all your dreams, that business, that girl or guy, that location, that travel that you've always wanted to take, or sit there and never go for it and live on your deathbed with regret, they both end with one ending thing: death. That is the biggest risk. Wasting your time is the biggest risk. Not going for your stuff and having regret is a risk. Not traveling, not doing these things, those are the real risks. And when I've studied thousands of people from either books or even listening to YouTube videos, a lot of old people on their deathbed or just old in general, they said these core 3 to 5 things. They wish they would actually been true to themselves and they would have lived the life that they actually wanted to, inevitably taking that risk. They wish they would have traveled more. In their eyes, it was a risk spending that money. And they wish they would have just expressed their love more to people, actually took time, worked less. That is the biggest risk, right? You don't want to be one of those people when you're 70, 80 and a YouTuber comes up to you in the street and it's like, what are your biggest regrets? Do you want any regrets? You don't want to be that person. So let's solve that now. We have, sorry to break it to you, but the most opportunity that any generation in the start of humanity has ever had. But the only thing is you have to focus. You have to have goals. And when you have these, now you have direction. When you apply action, you're going to get everything you ever wanted. So the biggest risk is doom scrolling on social media, watching other people live while you watch. The biggest risk is the fact that you're going to die. So let's come back here and actually the incremental steps that you can take here that's going to actually change the trajectory of your life now to where you want to be. Did you know the number one leading factor to decide if someone's going to be successful in this lifetime is if they have control of their own mind, their mindset? So this is your conscious, your subconscious, laws of the universe, etc. But you have to have that self-belief. When you have that self-belief, risk isn't even a factor. You don't think it's even real or existent. But I can't blame you and you can't blame yourself, because think about it. School is great. It's the fundamentals of what you need to actually be at least somewhat competent in this world. But when it comes to systems, when you get to the high school level, college level, now you're starting to be like everyone else. You're not unique. You're not a free thinker, and you're not thinking for yourself. This is all purposeful, because to give you a little, I don't know, what do they call it back in school when I used to take it? Like a crash course on the history. Schools were started to breed you for war. I think it was Sparta, you have the Aztecs, etc. And then it was the industrial stage for people to be better working ants and bees in this world and society, to build up America and other countries. And now it's going to get lost to people in power, and it's going to come back, and the wealth separation, Story for another day, but let's make all of you successful, the best human beings in all aspects. And that starts with the risk. It starts with the self-belief. So with that huge crash course, blah, 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 we come back today. You have to acknowledge that anything in your mind is connected with a paradigm. So when people that take psychedelics, they have like an ego death, they call it. They take ayahuasca, they take mushrooms, whatever it may or might be. And what happens is everything from their parents, their friends, social media, the identifications that just kind of trap them into this person that they think they are, they think that they can't get that dream life or change to be that person because they're scared about all these preconceived notions of what other people think of them rather of caring what they think about themselves. So think about this. Think about this visual for a second. When you were a child to where you are now, it's no different than a bunch of spider webs all over you. Your parents tell you should vote for this, politician, or I guess go for this one sports team. Now you have a couple webs on you. You have friends that say, yeah, that's a little weird. You shouldn't post on social media, or that drawing is bad. Now you have a couple of spider webs on you. Maybe you were kind of a low frequency energy person throughout schooling because you were depressed, but now you want to be happy. You want to be that uplifting, charismatic person, but you're scared that people are gonna be like, why are you acting like that? These are all paradigms. You're creating this box when the world is a circle. So if you want the world, you want the dream life, you have to know at any point you make that conscious decision of taking everything that people know about you or what you even know about yourself, ball it up into just a piece of paper like you're a kid again. You're drawing a bunch of drawings and it sucks. You crumple it up, that's your life now. You toss it like I said in the beginning of this video, and then you restart. You pick up the chisel and you sculpt the life you want right now. At any time you can restart. You get that new piece of paper, you start writing your new story. That is all choice. That is not risk. And concluding off of that, when you have society in control, you have to know power and control is finite resource. But then when you have wealth and fame, that's infinite. That is all an illusion. If you live in a system, you have to know the systems are purposely here to make you feel small. When you feel small, you feel like you can't do something in this world. That's even with religion, that's with politics, that's with business, yada yada. But you have to understand the biggest threat to anyone in power is when all of you acknowledge the fact that you can do anything in this world. Anything. You want to get that fast car, it's already on this earth. You just have to create the person deserving of it like the magnet. If it's that business or that location you want to leave to, you have to make that conscious decision. And also a little side note, did you know that there is over 50% of people that have never even left their country worldwide? Did you know there's almost 50% of people that have never even left their hometown when there's a whole world out here to explore? So when we are all making this decision of like what we're gonna do the rest of our lives out of high school, and it's like, yes, you gotta go to college and figure out what you wanna do. That is the biggest joke that we can do to people, because think about it. You go to college, you're surrounded by people that you're gonna start being like. Your parents are gonna force you to say, you gotta figure it out. You gotta get a job because you have to make money. So now you're in the survival, bottom of the pyramid on Maslow's pyramid hierarchy of needs. How do you expect to get to that enlightened stage to actually do something creative in this life, to actually have some sort of a pivotal creation that's gonna last beyond you as a human body? The answer is usually you won't, because then you get these even more spider webs that are actually like glue, which is debt, a mortgage, and things that trap you in an economic system. So it's very vital that you make sure not to lock yourself down to too many liabilities when you're young. When you're young, try everything, be weird, be cool, whatever you want to do. That's how you actually figure out what you're gonna do in this life. When you're trying to be this perfectionist and do everything by the book, you're gonna just disappoint yourself and you're gonna just be pessimistic in the end of the day of all of this. So when you look at these governments and the people around you telling you, you can't do that, that's weird, or you have to get a job, you gotta do this, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. And the faster that you sit back and you say, all of you are wrong, I'm gonna listen to my intuition, I'm gonna listen to me, I'm gonna do this for me. Oh, the world's your oyster. The world is your oyster. If you don't like seafood, fine, you're at least doing something successful. But you will do whatever it is and whatever you want. The moment that you say there is no risk, and if it's money, money hasn't been back since Nixon. okay? If you're in America, and if the risk, again, is anything else, you're gonna die. So when it comes to all of this, you have to just acknowledge that it's all illusion. This is all purposeful, and you can take control of your mind. Because if you don't take control of your mind's gonna walk you no different than a dog walking the owner when you're supposed to be walking the dog with the leash. Another example of this with the paradigms and the government and all that, to conclude this tangent, is when you have a dog out in the yard with an invisible fence and it doesn't even have the shock collar on, it's preconditioned now to think that it's gonna get shocked if it leaves. That's just like when you're taught if you leave the country, it's dangerous out there. If you take on that business loan, that's dangerous. If you go and do whatever you may or may want to do, you don't know what's gonna happen. That's uncertain, that's a risk. So when people tell you all these things, say the biggest risk is I'm gonna die. The biggest risk is I don't know what's gonna happen, but at least I know I tried. And typically when you try, I've never met someone, I started to also be a bearer of great news here. I've never met someone that gives everything their all, their mind, their action, and commitment, and they fail. Think about that. Whenever you've actually done 100%, you've given 100%, you've given all of your energy, your time, your commitment, when have you failed? And if you did, it was an uncontrollable. Someone screwed you over in business, someone cheated on you, those are uncontrollables. But you know you did everything you could in your power, and that energy, that commitment showed for it, because risk was an illusion at that point. Everyone was telling you no and you said yes. And that's what creates this unbreakable mindset. And when you have that, your unbreakable mindset, that's like the foundation of a house. That's what builds these huge skyscrapers and these dynasties and whatever, the moment you take control of that computer, like an iPhone. You wake up, unplug from the charge, your energy's being taken from you, what you do, what you hear, what you see throughout the day. So make sure your search engine is only on and focused towards the things that you want out of life, rather than just wandering and letting it control for you. When you open up your phone, besides the algorithms, your phone's not telling you this, that, and the other thing that you have to do. You usually tell it what to do. So let me ask you, in life, why are you letting your mind take control of that? Why are you letting risk tell you you can't? Why are you letting people around you tell you you can't do something? So that's no different. So when I give you that analogy of, it's kind of silly, does your phone control you or do you control your phone? That's no different than all of us here today. And when you do that, I'm telling you right now, that is the only separation from you now to where you want to be. Let me leave all of you here today with one last personal story. One that is gonna hopefully kind of shake anything that you're scared about and motivate you inevitably. When I was 19, I didn't have parents. Both my biological parents, they passed away. And I hate to say, when they did, I woke up the next day like a nightmare that was reality. I felt like clouds were over my thinking, clouds were over just my feeling, and it was sunny out. And what I want to say and make a point out of all of this is when that happened, people that were so close to me, so dear, I realized in that moment, no matter how famous you are, how much money you have, or who you are, does not matter. And life is ruthless that way. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your ego, what you've done, or blah, blah, blah. And that's the greatest part. I didn't think about that. When I woke up the next day and I saw Tom still going to work and I saw Susan still watering the flowers and the world still going in this magical circle that we can't explain, I realized right then and there, that was my ego death. That was everything death to me. I said, whoa, if that can happen to me and my parents and whatever, why are we all playing this game? And it's no mystery why anyone has this midlife crisis when they're in their 50s, when they lose their first parent, they have a divorce or something, they realize their whole brain gets shaken. And that's the problem. We all have just enough adversity that keeps us going through life to escape it. And that's the middle, that's the moderate. You don't want to be average. And I'm not saying that in terms of like, you have to be successful. I'm saying that in all aspects. Don't be average. Don't be apologetic for having high energy. Don't be apologetic for taking those risks, being unique, because you're going to die. And when you die, you should want that. And you should almost want that, because what Kanye and a lot of people say is what you create is gonna last beyond you. The human body's a vessel. And when that happens, What you see and what you have is your experiences. It's how you made people feel. It's what actually is on your tombstone when you're dead. And I give you a recommendation here as well. Go through a graveyard, and it's kind of creepy. Go probably in the daytime. I'm scared of the dark, so go in the daytime, even by yourself or with people. Read some of the gravestones and see what's on them. It's not, oh, he was a hard worker. I wish I would have done more. It was identifications, ironically. It was a loving father, a loving niece, nephew, etc. Knock these identifications off, because that is actually when you start to be that magnet towards anything you want in this lifetime. And when you start doing that, everything's just gonna come. Everything's gonna happen. Everything you've actually imagined in your mind, the things you want, you have written down in a freaking closet somewhere, all of it's gonna come. It's simple as that. No one's safe, no one's making it off alive, and as someone that has lost majority of my family and I can't get them back, I realize this now, that we are all not safe. I've understand, time significance now, and I realize there is no risk. There is none. There really is none. So please, by the end of this, go for everything you want in life. Because I promise right now, I promise, you leave here today. In 5, 10, 15 years, you'll come back here, I'll read a message from you, or I'll see you in person hopefully one day, and you tell me, if it wasn't for you and listening and taking action on realizing risk is an illusion, I would have never had the life I have right now. For the good or for the worst. If it doesn't work out, at least you know what happened and you tried. But then you can't come back here and tell me, David, I don't have any regrets. And if you do, then I did something here today. But with that, my friends, I don't want to waste too much of your time. You need to get up and actually apply action. Start going for these risks that aren't there. And absolutely crush it, my friends. You all have what it takes. Now you just have to go out and get it. So, see you on the next one.